Good morning. Good morning. Somebody else is here too. All right. So our opening hymn today, the gathering hymn as it states, number 1017, Building a New Way in the Teal Hymnal. Please stand if you're willing and able, and I'll set you back down eventually. Yeah, gravity will work.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom, peace and freedom is our cry. Oh, peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Thank you. Have a seat. Let me find some organization here. I got it somewhere. Well, now's a good time to silence your cell phones. No interruption here. So ours is a welcoming community where we find connection and meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified. We also, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We also welcome guests from Facebook Live and Zoom audience, which you don't get to see today because got a computer plugged into it. We do, don't we? Oh, sorry, it's in her lap, not where it normally is. Okay, we welcome everyone no matter who you are. All are welcome here. Today our musician is Mark W. Tech person, as usual, is Nancy. Molly's back in the office running the tech for home. Are there any visitors this morning? If you would like, just let us know who you are and where you're from so we can properly welcome you. Nobody willing to say hello. Okay. Any visitors online? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. We can't see if there's any online visitors because we can't see them. Okay, any church announcements?
Good morning. If you do not know me, my name is Ashley Perkins. I'm one of the co-directors of RE, which is Religious Exploration for our youth here at the UUCE. I am not normally in here during Joys and Sorrows, so I'm doing things a little out of turn. I apologize to Ken, but I don't apologize for the joy that I had yesterday going to Pride and seeing so many people down there. And it really made me grateful and thankful that there is a community that is opened to celebrating the diversity of humanness. And I just really felt blessed to be down there. My daughter had an amazing time. I saw a lot of you there, so it just felt really good. The energy was really good down there. It was so nice to just feel that like everybody could be comfortable in their own skin. And that to me is what it's about, like just allowing that space and safety for people to be who they are. So thank you for all who showed up and showed out for Pride this year. It's truly a blessing. The second thing I want to say is we are still accepting registrations for our youth program. This year we're doing Jedi Academy. It's a mindfulness training centered around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or JEDI. So we are looking for 1 to 2 more volunteers. So if you just want to come have fun, see what it's about, let me know. We just need a few people to walk around and maybe take some pictures so we have things to share with our community. That is Wednesday through Friday, June 25th through the 27th from 5:30 to 8:30 here at the UUCE. The second thing after that, we are going to be starting our summer Sundays here at the UU. And we are doing in July and August something called What Brings You Joy. We did this way before COVID. We've had a few people that come and talk about with the kids what brings you joy. We've had blessings from, I know Mark brought his musicianship and his guitars, and the kids had a really fun time playing. Steve brought some stuff one year for his fishing supplies, and the kids really loved that. So if anyone has anything they would love to share, I think Tina brought her dogs. Like it was just a plethora of different things. Joel has brought his violin. But this will be on the sign-up sheet with the open dates available. So if you feel called to just hanging out with the kids, seeing what it's about, and just enjoying something that brings you joy with the kids. So thank you. That's all.
Are there any other church? There are, okay.
I just want to follow up. I don't want to overdo it, but I want to follow up on what Ashley said about the wonderful turnout for Pride Day. Between the parade and all of the people who worked the booth, anybody who was involved, anybody who volunteered some time yesterday, raise your hand. Parade, so many of you, yes. Thank you. And the logistical side of that is if you borrowed a hat rather than bought one, you can return it to me, or if you have an IOU, you can start to follow up on that. Thank you. But thank you for all the joy from yesterday.
Okay, so each week we spend a few minutes stepping across the aisle to do the meet and greet thing, and you'll hear a chime when it's time to return to your seat. Go for it. Thank you, Mark. So we light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love. And it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together.
Like the birthday candles that don't go
Okay, we'll get this back in order. May I have 2 volunteers, please, for the offering? Every week we gather in this beautiful space to find peace. Each week, words and music offer and celebrate peace with the hope it is instilling hope of instilling it in us. Now take the peace you have found here back out into the world with you. Renewed in our faith and inspired to act, let us be the peacemakers the world aches for, and by being peacemakers, let us find the peace we long for. Go in peace, make peace, be at peace. Trust that all that will be put to good use and go where it needs to go. A story for all ages. Brian, are there any children here? Only if he wants to come up.
Would the young or young at heart like to come forward? All right, today's story is Would I Ever Lie to You by Carolyn Booner with pictures by Jack Davis. My cousin Ed is such a tease. He says outrageous things with ease. Mostly they're tales, but sometimes they're true. And so I'm never quite sure what to do. After supper just last night, Ed gave me an awful fright. In a voice that dripped with dread, this is what my cousin said. Please don't eat that piece of pie. That piece of pie could make you die. It's full of poison through and through. It just might be the end of you. If you take a single bite, first you'll lose your appetite. You'll feel a burning in your belly. Your arms and legs will turn to jelly. Your tongue will curl, your eyes will pop. Your hair will fall out with a plop. You'll get big lumps and bumps and more while you're falling to the floor. Then you'll die. It's perfectly true. Would I ever lie to you? A poison pie, could it be true? With Cousin Ed, you never knew. He once told me he watched me hatch from the big green egg in the cabbage patch. He said my mother jumped with joy to find her little alien boy. Was it true? My mom says not, but that's the kind of cousin I've got. One day he stared at me and said, "There's something strange about your head. You really ought to do more thinking, because it's clear your head is shrinking." I measured my head. I prepared for the worst. I worried so much I thought I would burst. But my head never did shrink smaller in size. It seems it was just one of Cousin Ed's lies. Once when we slept at Grandma's house, where it's quiet as a mouse, I heard a loud creaking overhead. "Don't worry," yawned my Cousin Ed. "That's just the alligators going to bed." Dad checked everything with a light. He said, "There's not a thing in sight." But still, I couldn't sleep that night. When Ed and I were at the zoo, Ed says, "That monkey looks like you. When you grow up, you'll live here too. Don't cry, I'll come and visit you." Was he teasing? I still worry. I don't want to be all furry. Ed gave me such an awful fright, because sometimes what he says is right. He said, Aunt Mary has no teeth. I thought that was beyond belief. But when we spied, there was no doubt. Because we saw her pop them out. Our mom has eyes in the back of her head, my cookie snatching cousin said. I asked my dad if this was true. Of course, he said, all mothers do. Ed told me there were redwood trees a car could drive right through with ease. No way, I said, but Mom said yes. He told the truth that time, I guess. Ed said, hold this big shell a minute. You can hear the ocean in it. Well, I knew that couldn't be true, but I listened and I heard it too. So what about my piece of pie? Could it really make me die? Or was it all a silly lie? Ed said to me, here's what I'll do. I'll eat that poison pie for you. What a kind dear cousin, true. Now I knew just what to do. Ed, I said, it's plain to see. You just want the best for me. It's time I took care of you. I'll eat my pie and I'll eat yours too. I took a bite and it was great, but by that time it was too late. I felt a burning in my belly, my arms and legs all turned to jelly. My tongue curled up, my eye went pop, my hair all fell out with a plop. I got big lumps and bumps and more while I was falling to the floor. And then I died. It's perfectly true. Would I ever lie to you?
Thank you. Very good. I know he has fun with the stories, and I enjoy inviting him to do it. This is an opening by Buckminster Fuller. Oh, go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Okay, I'll try this again. This is an opening is done by R. Buckminster Fuller. The dark ages still reign over all humanity, and the depth and persistence of this domination are only now becoming clear. This dark age's prison has no steel bars, chains, or locks. We take a few moments each week to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. We always start with joys. If you would like, please come to the microphone, take a pebble from the clear bowl and place it in the bowl of water to symbolize the rippling effect of your sharing. And there is another point. Nancy, do we have Zoom and Facebook? The answer is maybe?
I'm not sure about Facebook. Yes, for Zoom.
Okay, then I'll put in the other point. In this closed space, whatever you say stays here. We can't say that with our Facebook audience. If there are things you don't wish to have out in the world, speak from where you are so the microphone can't pick it up. However, audio via Zoom is always shared to Facebook. Okay, anybody have a joy this morning to share? Oh, okay, come on. So every week we take a few minutes, just meditation, Sit quietly. Do whatever you like, but just acknowledge your heart. It's the power center of your entire body. Become aware of how big you are, your entire energy space, and you reach out a couple of meters in all directions. And we'll do number 123, Spirit of Life, in a moment or two.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We have technical difficulties. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the battery low to go, so, I mean, but it's a different kind of power cable than usual.
Okay. That's what we get for having an 1840s computer. Okay, so the next thing is to introduce our speaker, Erin Gibson. And it's going to run, looks like about 10 minutes longer than normal. This is a pretty in-depth presentation about misinformation.
So, yeah, I was not expecting the computer to want to die, and I have 3 computers with me, but this one was the best option, and that took me a long time to get organized. So, I'm sorry to start off like this. I will do my best, and it might not be as interactive as I was hoping it would be because of that. So, joys and sorrows. Joys and sorrows. Also, we might lose the, I've logged into the Zoom so that they can see the presentation, so that might lose that, so, very sorry. I can at least get some things pulled up. Yeah, your computer is no fun. It's all, okay, so, well, let me grab mine, I do have a backup here. All right. Pivot. My name's Erin Gibson, and I have been working in a space talking about information or misinformation since about 2013, when I attended a conference on for news literacy leaders at Stony Brook University, and I can look at as much as I can out of this as I can. So sorry. Oh, I see why they wanted this up. That's what it's looking like for everybody else. So I am going to just run through this without a presentation, and I apologize. You can't be too prepared. 3 computers isn't enough. So yeah, three power cords is what I would have needed, yeah. I have been working in this space for, I've been doing communications for about 20 years. I have worked in higher ed. I have worked as a journalist, PR. I produced radio commercials, and then I taught journalism for about 20 years. I got really interested in this because of that first conference that I went to, and then since then, it lit a fire in me. And so I've done a TEDx Evansville speech, which went a lot better than this. I've spoken in front of other groups, and I had another point, but it was in my PowerPoint. So anyway, that's what I'm here to talk to you about, and I apologize for not being even more prepared. So skip some things because that was interactive. So one of the things that I know we're all here for, and why that I was invited to talk about this topic, is I know how frustrating it is to be a human in this timeline with all this digital media and not knowing exactly what to believe and what not to believe. A couple of things I was going to show you. One was there's an amazing image out there of not amazing, but it's a funny image of a woman staring at her phone, and she's basically saying, it says, local woman stays just informed enough to be angry and sad all the time. We all relate to this, right? There's another one where Buzz Lightyear is trying to explain to Woody in Toy Story that all the news is fake, the Cold War's fake, Watergate's fake, Obama presidency's so fake, and the Kardashians don't even exist. It's all designed to lead you to commercials so you'll buy things you don't even need. And then the other one is just a picture of a woman sitting with a box on her head. So I think we all relate to this in one way or another, in one of those ways. And so that's what I'm hoping to be able to do today, is to help you, wherever you fall on that spectrum, to at least give you a few tools for feeling a little bit more in control of the information you consume. One of the things I realized when I was teaching journalism and working with students is that my thought process shifted, and I realized that what was happening is, the information ecosystem was changing around all of us, and I was no longer feeling that my only purpose was to help communicators, but to help audiences. And that I could probably do a lot more for people if I could help all of us, figure out what was happening around us. We are on these social media tools. We are on these, we are in these spaces. We are consuming this information for a reason. And we don't really want to give them up. I mean, there's a reason we stay on Facebook, despite the fact that we delete it off of our phones often and say, never again. I know, that's my story anyway. But there's a reason we're there. And so I want to talk about those things, about how can we continue to use these things for connection, and yet still feel like we're not falling for, misinformation all the time. So first of all, we kind of have to think about what it is that information does for us. So why are we on social media? Why do we turn the TV on? Why do we turn on streaming services? What are we looking for when we are looking for a podcast? Well, information, first of all, we all spend about 7 to 8 hours a day with digital media, and that is including social media, TV, radio, YouTube, streaming services, music, gaming. That's a long portion of our day that we are plugged in. So why do we spend so much time doing that? What is it that we are looking for? Well, information does one of three things for us. It alerts us, it diverts us, and it connects us. We go to information and we read and watch and listen to news sources, follow news organizations, and each other for alerts. So we learn about the stuff that we need to know, like road closings, or the 400th pothole or sinkhole that has opened up in Evansville, weather alerts, school closings, product recalls, food recalls. We need information. It's how that's what the mass media is for. We like knowing those things. It's important. It helps us with how we perceive the world, our route to work, and then also we are able to learn about people we're going to be electing, and what's going on in our communities. But we also look to information for diversion. So we, at the end of a day, will look to social, or we're either on social media or we're streaming something for entertainment purposes, to get our minds off of the things that we're supposed to be paying attention to. And lastly, media connects us. It's a way to share information and experiences with people, even when we're not in the same physical space. So we've all seen a news story about someone we don't even know that really tugs at our heartstrings, right? We don't know anything about this person, but suddenly we're reading something or seeing something, or we see something on social media about someone that really gets to us. The example I was going to give, I had a photo of a woman, and it was from Evansville Animal Care and Control. It was a social media post a few years ago about this little cat named Louie, and it's a photo of her and her cat, and he'd been missing for a year, and he'd been brought into Animal Care and Control, and because of his microchip, got reunited with his mom. And that's something we relate to, and that we're like, oh, something good, right? We're all looking for that something good. We wouldn't be on social media without these spaces, if we were not, without these kinds of stories and without these kinds of experiences. But even though we're looking to it to alert us, to divert us, or to connect us, we also know it can mislead us. Sometimes we find what we're looking for, but more often than not, we're exposed to media that we were not seeking out. There was an Onion headline that says, factual error found on internet. It's my favorite Onion headline. There's a lot of favorite Onion headlines, but it points out that we can often be misled or outright wrong by information. And sometimes that wrong information is a harmless error, like a typo. I have like a typo, or there's also can be something like this, which is this particular factual error was that this Brady Bunch fan site got the debut year of the show wrong. I mean, that was just like what the silly satirical article was about. So sometimes it's harmless, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes there are real consequences to the wrong information that we find. It can threaten our public health, our financial markets, our elections, and perhaps, as you all know, even democracy itself. And as a result, our collective trust in media and each other continues to fall. If we stop believing what we can read and hear from anyone, where that's all built on trust. So now that we've addressed the motivations for sharing or for consuming information, we need to think about our motivations for creating it and sharing it. So what is it about us when we are putting something out there on social media? What is it about a journalist, and what motivates a journalist, I point to the one that is in the room that I know of, to do their job and to share information and to report stories? Why do organizations advertise and manage social media accounts? What is their motivations? Well, everyone who is asking for your attention wants to do one of three things. They want to inform you, they want to entertain you, or they want to influence you. And we're going to come back to this as we talk about evaluating information. So they want to inform you, they want to entertain you, or they want to influence you. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So I want to talk about the types of information. And the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of, or what it is about reliable information and what we know about reliable information, because we have to know what's the gold standard in order to know how are we going to compare what we're seeing, some random post on Facebook, or something someone tells us, even like, when we're at the hair salon or whatever. How are we going to compare that to that? And so 3 hallmarks of reliable information is that it's verifiable, that it's coming from an independent source, that they've not been paid to say the thing, that they don't have any conflicts of interest to tell you about that thing, and the fact that they have a reputation for being held accountable, basically correcting their errors, always trying to make sure that they help you, they explain who the sources are, that kind of thing. I do have a caveat to talking about journalism, and that is a concept that is called provisional truth. Information about something that has just happened, like a breaking news event or an announcement that just happens. The information that is contained within that is provisional. It exists only at the moment of publication. Like that truth it's only as true as it can be at that time. It will likely change as more information becomes known and more context becomes known. We've all had this experience. Something breaks, some news breaks, and there's something wrong with that initial report. There's always something wrong with the initial report, right? There's always one example is like in a shooting situation. Typically, you'll hear there's a second shooter. This is like really common. You'll hear about, they're looking for a second shooter. There's almost never a second shooter. It's because as information develops, you realize, we're hearing people who were over there, and they just start trying to. Reporters only know what police are telling them and witnesses are telling them, and so they're trying to gather this under very weird circumstances, and it changes. This happens with us too. Somebody calls you and tells you something happened to someone, or sends you a text and says someone was in a car accident or something like that. There's always there's at least one detail that's a little fuzzy, and that somebody maybe made an assumption about, and then as it develops, your understanding of the event develops. So truth in a news report, or the details in those initial news reports in those kinds of situations, are not always a certainty. And it's not, and I think this has happened quite a bit in recent years, and how a lot of conspiracy theories I have seen spun out of initial reporting. where suddenly it's like, well, whatever happened to this? And they're like holding on to that first report that came out. And then next thing you know, it turns into this big conspiracy theory, and people are just saying, you can't believe anything reporters tell you. Also, no matter if it's breaking news or not, a single news report is not going to contain all of the truth about everything. It cannot contain every detail about the event. And so I just want us to acknowledge that the gold standard actually has a lot of limitations. There is no complete truth that can be told in a single story. You know, even if you write, a 4,000-word New York Times article about it, it's not going to contain every bit. So as reporters follow up and gather new information over time with any story, we start having more context. Okay, so now I want to talk about what we're here to really talk about, and that's misinformation and disinformation. And I want to qualify the differences between the two. Misinformation is unknowingly sharing false information, unknowingly just passing something along. It's the thing that some of us, I think, have that cringe moment of, I just hit share on that, and I'm starting to question. I'm wondering if that was true. It's that feeling of just, oops, messed that up. And then disinformation is the deliberate sharing of false information. There's a reason behind that, and the motivations. And again, we're going to get back to motivations here in a minute. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different kinds of mis and disinformation. And in fact, the kinds of things I'm going to talk about right now can be categorized in one or both of those categories of mis and disinformation. I think when we talk about this, it does help for us to know whether somebody did it on accident, by accident, or on purpose. But it also helps us to understand, so what was the error? What's wrong with the information that you're getting? So the first one is just plain old errors. Sometimes it is a typo in a headline. I had an example of, it was supposed to be something about brain activity, and it said Brian activity. So just a really silly, typo. Unfortunately, it is too often, and I used to teach journalism students and advise a student publication, and boy, would I yell when I'd learned that they had misspelled somebody's name. I don't know how it happens. It happens in all newspapers. I do not know. I watch people ask, and would you please spell your name for me? It's the first question they often, or it's actually that, they verify it. And then in print, it always ends up somehow wrong. I don't know what it is. It's just Murphy's Law, I guess. I think so. I think there's some of that too. Or I always wanted to blame the copy editors. And I normally like copy editors were really good at their jobs, and now I can't even blame them because they don't exist in publications anymore. So, but beyond like those silly errors, oftentimes it's a failure in the reporting process. And so an error will happen to good journalists. Every good journalist has had an error and a mistake. They might run with information that was from a source that they thought they could trust. And it turns out they were wrong. It could be that they didn't verify something. They didn't get a second source to tell them the thing, and they knew that they should have because they trusted. But news organizations and people, individual people, that you can trust are going to be people who are known and have a record of correcting errors when they catch them. And news organizations often have somewhere on their site, there's a published corrections policy. And so that's one way of knowing whether you are able to trust them, is that they're going to correct it. Another one is what is called mislabeled content. I had an example of during the COVID times, we were all looking for some good headline, right? We were looking for something good. And there were several news organizations that picked up on this social media post, or several social media posts. They were filming dolphins in the canals of Italy and saying, dolphins have returned to Italy because there are so few tourists. they're back in the canals. And I was like, oh, wow, this might be the positive part of COVID, right? We were all looking for something that we could say might be good. And it turned out that it was mislabeled, honestly. It wasn't that uncommon to see dolphins. And in fact, in some of the videos I saw, there's plenty of people in the photo or in the videos. So I'm just like, And so it turns out it really honestly was just, who knows what the motivations of those posts, the people on those social media posts were. But that was an issue of just mislabeling and probably for clicks, I'm assuming. That was just probably just a click. So it's misrepresentation, mislabeling of something. So sometimes the image might be true, the video hasn't been messed with or anything. It's just that here's a video, this is the text I'm going to put with it. The next one, I've already mentioned The Onion. Satire is a form of misinformation. It's actually a form of disinformation, right? I mean, it's actively not correct. They do it on purpose, but they do it for motivation of entertaining you, humor. I worry that satire is dead right now. I'm having a hard time finding things that are overly exaggerated. You know, satire usually is something that's overly exaggerated. Pointing out ironies is ironic. Creating like ridiculous parodies of our present times. And it's kind of hard to do that in a reality that feels already ridiculous and terrible. But I do think that there are people out there who are continuing to create good satire, good parody. The Onion is not nearly as funny as it once was. Occasionally I can find a headline that I still laugh at. I think Stephen Colbert is an example, SNL tries. There are a lot of TikTokers out there who are doing really great work with parody and satire as well. But it is something that we do need to recognize, and we do see people mistake information that is satirical as just like they're thinking that, oh, this is absolutely wrong, how dare they? And it's actually, well, you have to kind of understand why it would be funny in the first place in order to laugh, right? You have to understand the present situation. Another kind of content is fabricated content. There is this image it shows up, many versions of this image show up after every hurricane. Hurricane season brings on this image. It'll be a flooded street and an orca. That's all you need. Flooded street, orca, plus name the hurricane. And that's the post, basically. Look what happened, it's flooded so much that there's an orca swimming in the streets. That's completely fabricated. They just basically photoshopped an orca into a flooded street. And who knows if the street is even in Dayton, Ohio, or wherever they're saying it. Typically, too, it can be AI. There was a recent one that went around following, it was another hurricane-related one. It was after Hurricane Helene, there was an AI, it was a clearly AI-created image. It was a little girl shivering, holding a puppy in a boat. And it was making the rounds, and it was like, this is one of the victims of Hurricane Helene that was rescued. And the closer you looked, the more it was like, that definitely is AI. They try. Sometimes it's just like pulling at your heartstrings, and again, clicks might be the only reason, the only motivation. There's also manipulated content, and that kind of falls into the area of fabricated, kind of the orca and the floodwaters. There's also a photo of anybody, I don't know if you remember Emma Gonzalez, who was a Parkland shooting survivor in 2018. There's an image of her that was circulating of her ripping up the Constitution. Big Constitution, and she's ripping it up. Because she was advocating for gun rights, or she was advocating for gun control, and gun rights organizations targeted her online quite a bit, all of those kids, when they spoke up and were looking for more regulation. It turns out the original photo was completely manipulated. There was a photo shoot that she did. I think maybe she did it for Vanity Fair, but she was holding a gun target. And so all they did was substitute the gun target with the Constitution. And so you can find the original images and they're identical. There's also imposter content, pretending to be someone else. I taught a class and helped create a class on media literacy at USI, and one of my students, the same week I was talking about these kinds of things and fabricated content and manipulated and imposter content, he decided, he sent me an email, and it was a fake tweet that he had made for me back when I was on Twitter, and back when it was Twitter. He made it, and it was my face, and it said, "Getting tired of all these dumb students in my media classes. Honestly, might not even show up to a class tonight." And he sent it to me, and I gave him extra credit. I didn't ask for it. He just made he made a little fake thing about me, and I was like, "Yes, you've demonstrated that it's very easy, how easy it was to fake a tweet by your professor. Good job." I hope he's doing good things in the world right now. We didn't take that the next step. But there's also other very concerning. There's plenty of people that have done this with celebrities, and social media has tried with the blue check marks and trying to verify people and all of that kind of stuff, how easy it is to fake being someone. But then there's another step beyond that, and that is AI-generated videos. There is an excellent video of the woman comes on. She looks like she's Adele. She's talking in Adele's voice, and she said, "I'm here to talk to you about fabricated and imposter content." And it turns out it's the New York Times opinion person, the person from the New York Times. It was her. So suddenly the video changes from Adele to her. Are still talker who was really good at impersonating, but that did Tom Cruise, and it just looks like a Tom Cruise video from beginning to end. And it's very easy to just use the technology for wrong purposes. So, what do? Do we just stop believing everything we see? Do we stop trusting everything? And I am going to be I don't know if this makes me a Pollyanna optimist, but I'm still talking about this. There have been times in the last few years, post-COVID, amidst this current administration, where I'm thinking, is there a place for this kind of lecture? Is there a place for this kind of conversation, for this kind of presentation? Does it still matter? And I'm going to say, yeah. I have people ask me all the time hey, can you help me figure out if this is correct? Do you have any tips? What can I do? How can I help my kids with this kind of information? And so I have a process. It's a little overly simplified, but I think it still works, and it's called Whoa, Wait, What? I'm going to walk you through it, and I want you to try to get that in your brains as a reaction. So we're going to all say it together. Whoa, wait, what? Whoa, wait, what? Whoa, wait, what? Okay, got to also think about your punctuation. So the whoa has an exclamation point. The wait has a period, which brings you to a full stop, and the what has a question mark at the end of it, right? Exclamation point, period, question. So we're going to walk through this step by step. The whoa is something you will never control. You are never going to be able to control your whoa. You are always going to react when you see something that shocks you. Something that makes you really, really happy, or something that makes you really, really angry. Outrage and like big emotions are a real big part of misinformation and disinformation, by the way. We react. So one of the example I was going to walk us through was something that happened to John and I a couple of weeks ago. He pulled up an image and he was like, oh, that's nice. And it was a picture of Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett, and they're holding a little birthday cake, and it says happy birthday with 100 on it. And we both had a moment of, aw, that's sweet. Look at that. I love them. You know? It was a good one. It was like, it wasn't anything that outraged us. It was just this sweet thing. And the longer I thought about that image, the more I was like, I came back to it. I don't know what to think about this. And that where I was, the longer I thought about it, that's the weight. The full stop that I pulled myself to was the weight. Typically, that wasn't something I would have probably shared on social. I wouldn't have hit reshare, to other people. I wouldn't have sent that to anybody. But there are plenty of times where it's like the immediate, our immediate is that hover over the share button. Like immediately, I'm going to tell people about this because they need to know. The weight is the thing you have control over, and it is the thing that is going to take training. It's going to take time. But you got to pull yourself to a stop. You got to kind of feel the reins coming in with that you put a period at the end of that sentence. It's the power of the pause. And the power of the pause is so important in all areas of our lives. I mean, if you've ever gone through marriage counseling, personal counseling, if you've been a manager and having to deal with people, responding to your mother about something, we all know that in conversation, the pause is really, really important. And it's really important in this space too. We have to pause and consider, is this possibly not what it appears to be? Is this true? That's all we have to do. Pause and ask yourself, is this true? You can stop there, actually. I have a hard time doing this because this is my area of study. It's my area of fascination. I don't normally stop there because I'm like, I want to find out if this is. I want to see if my instincts are correct. But sometimes, is it worth your time to go digging through to see if that thing is actually true? I cannot tell you how many times over my coffee in the morning I go down some rabbit holes that I'm like, that was not worth my time. There was no payoff. Only I know that I proved that was wrong, right? It wasn't worth my time. Sometimes it is, especially if I'm seeing a whole lot of people talking about it, then I'll go, and then that's worth my time. But you can't stop with the weight. You can just move on. Just move on. Doesn't matter. Once again, go back to that in your headline. Error found on internet. That worth your time? However, if you do think it's worth your time, that's when you're going to go into the what? The question mark. Could this be wrong? Is just the beginning. Then you have to move your way through some steps. Some first things that I like to do is just immediately look at who shared this, like what's the source of this? Who are you? You can always click through to their profile. If it's real crazy, like the Dick Van Dyke thing, I'm gonna get back to that here in a minute, you're gonna find more things that you're like, a lot of this looks real sus. A lot of this doesn't look right. This person, like a content farm of some sort, or they're in it for the clicks. So you can check the basic information. Dates are usually really important, especially if you end up on a website, like a news site, looking at the date. How many celebrities have we seen die about 15 times on the internet? Because you're like, so-and-so's died, and then you look it up and you're like, oh, again. So if those things don't give you some clarity, though, then there are some other things you can do. So here I do have, can't see it very well, but here's my Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett image with the happy birthday, 100 years birthday cake. So we're going to work through this, and there are some shortcuts you can take. This does not have to be a step-by-step process. find the shortest route to getting there, is what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you, there's a real short route to this one that I found. But I'm going to go through some steps real quick, just for the sake of taking this example to its completion. So the first thing you want to do is identify the neighborhood you are in. Information has neighborhoods, and you wander in and out of these neighborhoods all day long if you are a person who is in the digital age. You wander in and out of the journalism neighborhood, the entertainment neighborhood, advertising, publicity, propaganda, and raw information all day long. You switch, talk about task switching. Our brain is constantly going from one thing to another, to another, to another. I do want to say something about raw information. So this is when someone shares the video of a plane crash they just witnessed, or a bear encounter. I don't know, I'm thinking about all sorts of crazy things. Like, they just share this, and it's like, it's just a video, right? The thing about raw information is it can be really valuable in reporting a story and like coming to understand a story and having more perspective, and it can even help, like in the case of like a plane crash or some kind of big public event, it can be really helpful for investigators because they're like, they want to gather that information as well as they try to figure out and unpack what happened. The thing about video is then it has a beginning and an end. And when you see raw video, I'm going to ask you to, once again, got to take some training, what happened before and what happened after this? They chose to turn the camera on or edit the video to start at that point and end at that point. Remembering the protest in Washington, D.C., where we had those kids from that Catholic high school who were allegedly being like bullied by, there was like some Native American tribe that was like protesting, and these two protesters clashed. They were there for like a right to life situation, and the Native Americans were there for another reason. And there was this standoff between a young man and a Native American man holding a drum. That video, there was this much that we saw. And boy, did my ideas change. Did I still have some same conclusions? Yes. I still thought, those kids could have been, little better in that situation. But I also saw the context of when it started. Because all I saw in the beginning was the face-off between these two. In the end, the kid won a huge lawsuit against CNN because they reported this from this, like that original video, this kid was being rude and abusive and whatever to the Native American. So those are the kinds of things that can happen with raw information. I want you to be aware of that. So for this, we go back to Dick and Carol. I'm not sure what neighborhood we're in. We could be in, I don't know, perhaps, I don't know. Could be a number of things. It came from someone named Paul Johnson. Interestingly enough, he posted it May 28th at 3:38 a.m. So that also was like, what were you doing up in the middle of the night posting pictures of Carol and Dick? So, so maybe this is the original photo that Paul took. Maybe he was at the birthday party. I don't know. Don't know who Paul is. Maybe he saw the photo on an entertainment site and shared it. Maybe there could be reasons. I don't think it's journalism. There was no link to it, so I don't think there was an advertising thing. I didn't see anything that looked like they were trying to sell me something. Maybe he's the publicist. I don't know. I don't know that's propaganda. So it's inconclusive what this neighborhood is. Sometimes you're just like, not sure. Second, identify the motives. Back to that thing. What do people want when they're trying to get your attention? They're trying to inform you, entertain you, or influence you. What do they want? What does Paul want from us? Not sure. Again, I kind of went through, I'm like, is he, I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought through it. Inform, entertain, influence. Maybe influence, like, make me click on it, and he just wants my click, right? Although the more I was looking at it, I started going, something's weird about this photo. So like during this, I'm starting to skip through these other steps, like what's happening. The other thing you can do is search fact checkers, Snopes, PolitiFact, factcheck.org, or you can Google. Start your Google with fact check Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett, 100, right? Start there. See what you find. I actually searched, well, I'm going to go to the next step. The next thing you can do is what we call read laterally. And honestly, this is my go-to. Lateral reading is meaning reading across the internet. Vertical reading is reading within the page you're on. So you're in Facebook. Lateral reading means open another tab. Get out of there. Get out of that neighborhood. Start fresh. Go to Google, and let's find what we can find. And so this is where I found where this image came from. I Googled Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett. That's all I did. I started there. And what came up was, what came up was I think I have this one on my paper here. There was an image, and they were wearing the same clothes that were in that photo, but there was no such, like, if you go to Google, there's always the all, and then the second tab at the top of Google is images. I don't know if you know this. You can always go to Google Images and look at that. And so when the first row of images were Carol and Dick, and they were together, but they were wearing that same outfit, but it was from a Hollywood, I think they were on Hollywood Boulevard, and maybe she was doing a handprint thing, which I'm still haven't dug that deep into this because I was like, she didn't have her handprints on Hollywood Boulevard yet? But it was from last year. They were at an event together, and there were headlines about Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett reunited at this event for the first time since whatever, and there's these really sweet, charming photos of them, but there wasn't that kind of thing, and it had nothing to do with his birthday. So what did I do next? I read more laterally, and I searched Dick Van Dyke birth date. He doesn't turn 100 till this December. Bingo! Okay? Just a little bit of detective work. What can I Google? What do I know? What words do I have that I can use? A note about reading laterally, especially if it is in a breaking news situation or if you have a news organization that says they have an exclusive, and there's like the headline is an exclusive. They're the ones who have sources that tell them something's going on in the White House, whatever, right? Whatever that is, you might not find it laterally because it's just happening and that one organization is the only one that has it at that point. Be patient about that. So don't just immediately rule it out that, well, nobody else is reporting that. Sometimes, like, it might just be coming from a TV station in Boston, like an actual, like if there's something going on, it's going to be from the place it happened, and the national news isn't going to catch on. The national news only catches on when the local news catches on. That's how that works. So just because you don't find it laterally, opening new tabs on in a web browser, doesn't mean it's not. Don't totally rule it out. Like, don't say, oh, this is fake. Think it through. What am I dealing with? What kind of information I'm dealing with? What I would advise is give it some time. And if other news organizations are able to confirm it, that's what they do, is they confirm it, and then they will start reporting it. We do this. We watch this every election. AP calls it. NPR has to confirm it. The NPR is not going to call it just because the AP called it. They might say the AP has called the election for blah, 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 or this state for so-and-so. They might report who's saying it, but they'll say, we have not independently verified that ourselves. So just listen to the words they're using. They're being very careful. They're trying to be careful. They're trying to tell you. And that's why I feel like this is important, is helping everybody understand. John and I have conversations all the time about journalists and how we get really angry at journalists. We're big journalism supporters, but we also get really angry. We think we're in our own little echo chamber. We think that journalists are in their own little echo chamber and they all speak the same language. Like they think everybody understands what we're saying. When I read, people don't understand the term op-ed a lot of times, editorial, anonymous source. We know what that means. We know that an anonymous source doesn't mean that somebody called in and whispered on the phone and nobody knows their name. We know that the editor and the reporter know the person's name and have like vetted them, but not everybody knows that. And so that's why I think this kind of thing is important, is talking about like these kinds of concepts and how what you can believe and what you can't and how to understand it. When you are evaluating information, look at what the source, who are they? Do they have a good reputation? Do they have a corrections policy? And do they have a code of ethics? Do they talk about how they use their anonymous sources? A lot of times you're going to find that. There's an amazing organization that I would love to work for called Trusting News. And her whole job, that whole organization, her name's Joy Mayer, and she is just, they write up policies and like suggest them to newsrooms like, hey, here's an example of how you could put this on your website so people understand your language. Okay, takeaways, and then I'll wrap up. A, you are exposed to media every day, passively and actively. You might start your day with NPR, you might wind it down with Hulu. In between, you're mindlessly scrolling social media, you're getting random news alerts on your phone, or a weather alert. You go to the doctor's office and there's a screen there and they have it on volume. Why do they do that? You meet a friend at a bar or a restaurant, there's another screen. You're exposed to it every day. But even passive exposure requires active vigilance. You are responsible. Nobody gave you this, nobody told you this. No one told you. You didn't sign anything. Well, you kind of did. You signed those terms and services, right? The agreement at the beginning, teeny tiny. Do you agree to everything Facebook wants from you right now? We did kind of sign up for it. And we do kind of carry around the surveillance stuff in our pocket for another lecture. But you are responsible. If you want to be in this environment, if you're going to be surrounded by this and swim in this, you are responsible for determining what is and isn't reliable. So many people want your attention. So you've got to be the line. You draw the line. It's not just about news, it's about everything and everyone on the internet. What do they want from you? My phrase that's at the top of my LinkedIn page is, if you don't have time to check it, you don't have time to share it. It's my favorite advice. It's okay also to just move on. Give yourself permission to just go, nope, this accidentally wound up in front of me. There's no reason it's going to accidentally suck my morning away from me while I'm probably could be like doing something like doing my Wordle, right? The other thing is, I would say, when you get it wrong, please be one of the people who corrects it. And don't just delete it. When something disappears, that's also, I'm always like, what happened? But if you could go back to edit the post and say at the very beginning, I have corrected this. I posted something incorrect. I posted something wrong earlier. Lastly, I want to tell you to find a media diet that works for you and take a break when you need it. And that's what I have for you today. So thank you for your patience as I swam through that blind.
Any questions or comments?
You mentioned that word, and I just want to reiterate and ask your opinion about it. On Facebook Messenger, I get a lot of them with relatives. This, oh, look what happened, da da da. And the first thing that comes to my mind is Snopes. I'm like, and I will hit the article, copy and paste it, and that will be my reply.
Yes.
You need to check this. Snopes. So
Yeah.
I just use that a lot.
Yeah, there's another thing that I've noticed too, is there's kind of a, Fox knows their war on, there used to be on the war on facts, right? And I think that there's a war on fact checkers. So I'll see people push back against Snopes. And there's like all this reporting about who the owners of Snopes are and what their political affiliations are and what their motivations are. But oftentimes if I find out it's Snopes, it like starts taking me to the right, they're gonna point me to the original source, and that's what I always say. Let's go to the original source. Who are they? Who's Snopes' source? That's where I go. But I do the same thing. It's like, we all should know about this.
Yeah, just this morning on Facebook, I saw that Caitlin Clark got married in Seaford. And, you know, that doesn't make sense with everything that said. And so I Googled it, I can't find anything about it.
Oh, okay, that's a sign, right?
That kind of stuff is happening all the time with WNBA now because it's so popular.
Yeah, and her and Angel Reese, there's just like, I don't know what to believe right now.
And the referee is getting fired because of bribery scheme. None of that. I cannot find anything that says it's
Yeah, if it's circular, it's like it's eating itself, right? It's all going back to Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, I got a question about the state of journalism. Last night, George Clooney's live play that ended with a montage to prove the point of journalism, which was has several things that were clearly fake and intended to be fake. They went by so fast. I know that's And today, in the world we live in, we're told we can't answer the phone anymore because we can't call it because if you give this free words, they got your voice and they can generate stuff. And I saw somebody on a talk show a while back where she was some kind of expert on finances and stuff. And whoever the host was, they showed a very short clip where she was sitting and talking to Stephen Colbert and advocating crypto, that you should invest in crypto, and then at the end of the short little clip, she said, I've never been on Stephen Colbert. It was very convincing. And Steve Bannon says, we're flooding the zone every day with 5 things that just distracting constantly. It seems to be working. But journalism used to be able to follow up. They used to have time and money to pursue something, and it might even take them a year or whatever to bring something to the end. And today it's like, you know, what happened just now, this is the news right now in your face, and tomorrow there's another thing, and another thing, and another thing. So what's going to happen to the future of journalism with AI being able to create unbelievable things, or believable things, that just convince you that what you really saw, that it's not true, and it's just, you know, where's journalism going to go?
We have to support it. And we have to support it with, unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen with network journalism and those kinds of things, but NPR is under fire. You know, we have conversations in our household about what this is going to mean for WNIN and for, you know, Morning Edition and John giving us traffic and weather and local news, right? But we also have to I think we have to advocate for it as well. It's gotta, unfortunately, make money. That kind of happened in the age of Fox News. Journalism didn't have to make money. They had a public service. And then they found out that they could make it profit-making and that, you know, NBC Nightly News used to be propped up by Friends and Cheers. That's what paid for NBC Nightly News. And anymore, they're like, well, how are you not bringing more advertising dollars? What's going to happen? I wish I knew. I really wish I knew. It's depressing, but I think that more we are empowered, we have to, you know, people talk about all of us can be journalists, which I think is nonsense, but we are all content creators. I mean, everybody's participating. We're all doing that. We're putting something out there. But I think that's this responsibility of realizing that we're the copy editors. We're the ones who are calling out the BS. I wish I had more to answer. Did you have something? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, about dates on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing more and more of that, especially on YouTube, Facebook, where it says, you know, this happened 2 days ago. And then you start listening to it, that's from like a year ago. Yeah, and is there any easy way to find that out?
The only thing I can say is go laterally.
Usually the bottom of the screen is a date posted.
No, if you go to YouTube, it actually says, all it says is when they posted
Yeah.
So, 2 days ago.
They're posting old
3
videos,
days.
so the videos themselves don't have timestamps.
No.
And so that's the lateral reading at play. Open another tab, let's find it, and you're like, oh, this sounds familiar, or no, that's not it, there's no. Yeah, I understand, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And they're counting on us being roots.
Well, and also I'm getting real disappointed in, I follow certain people on YouTube, but they're starting to get to this point now where it's like, Trump to be impeached, and then you go in and you watch.
There's no evidence of it.
There's nothing in there.
No, it is sensationalism. And also on the front, I've noticed on YouTube, I'm in marketing now, and I know that what they call them, I can't remember what they call it, it's the card, it's the main image, and that is such a big thing for the YouTube algorithm, is what is on that card, the title slide is, and so, yeah, that title slide is so important, and that's how they're getting people to click on it. So, yeah.
I'm probably the only person sitting in here who's been sued for libel.
Oh, good for you.
Who represented the newspaper is sitting. But it was when I did my due diligence, and it was still wrong. It was a game, a very heated game, years ago in girls softball in Princeton, between Boonville in one dugout and Castle in the other. The teams, the people, the coaches, the players, all despised each other. At the end of a particularly disappointing inning for Castle, the Castle coach picks up a batter or ball, I don't remember which one it was, and he throws it towards the dugout and hits one of his players. I was writing notes how the inning ended, and I hear this shriek and all this, and crowd going, people going crazy, and I asked the person next to me, what happened? He said, he threw a bat, hit a player. I go, really? I said, well, that was stupid.
Yeah.
And so I asked the Princeton, the host school, the athletic director, who was sitting next to me in the press box, what happened? She confirmed the same thing. After the game, I go ask the Boonville coach who had won the game, so they were happy, if that happened. And he would have said he was guilty of murder. But he said, oh yeah, that's what he did. He threw the bat and hit the play. So I go to my fourth source, the coach who supposedly did it, and he won't talk to me. He said, you saw the game, you saw whatever happened, and he runs off. So I say, coach threw bat, hit play. After the game. Next morning, I was the only person at the Courier at the time that had their phone number in the phone book. He calls me at like 8:30, waking up because I worked there. And he said, I didn't throw a bat and hit the player, I threw a ball. And it was important to him. He thought the distinction was important. I said, okay. I said, but I explained what happened and how I vetted it with everybody that was there. And he said, well, you're going to hear more about this. And the lawyer, years later, the Courier prints a correction. Pat Lockyer did not throw a bat and hit a player, he threw a ball. And that was the settlement. One paragraph that said the date, and that was the end of the whole thing. And the Boonville coach, every time I saw him after that, he said, I still have that clip on my refrigerator.
Oh my gosh.
So you can do it right and still get it wrong.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, one more comment. Barb?
Did,
This is real quick. Where do you go? I know where I can go for there's some Substack people I really trust in that. But just for general news online, I used to look at CNN, and now I must subscribe. They're watching the post. But where do you go just for general accurate news?
verifiable, independent, and accountable. And so I am a huge NPR supporter, and there's a politics section on NPR. Oh, a non-political?
Like, what's happening around the country?
I mean, I do subscribe to I'm a New York Times subscriber because that's the world we're in now, is that we have to pay for our news. You always did. We used to have to pay to have it delivered to us, and we also used to have to buy it with our coffee in the morning. So there's that. But I mean, I subscribe there, and then if I read something there that I had not read out anywhere else or haven't seen, then I go looking elsewhere for it. But I still am I'm a mainstream news consumer. I appreciate what Heather Cox Richardson is doing. I appreciate what those people are doing. Though they are more historian trained than they are journalistically, and I recognize that, and I think we need that context. It's helpful. I don't read her every day. I don't like long posts on social media. I'm not much of a Substack user myself. So I'm usually, and to be honest, I'm trying to manage my diet too. So I am kind of a headline first few paragraphs reader right now because I can't. My own mental well-being right now can't. I was on vacation and I flunked the New York Times news quiz the first week I was back. I took a break from it. I took that news quiz and I'm real proud of my score, and I shouldn't be because it's not doing me any good. So yeah, I think it's really about verification. I get news alerts and I've trimmed those down. The AP is really, I think I'm getting AP and NPR alerts now. Yeah.
There's about 8 sources of television news, and sometimes when something's breaking, I hate that being a term breaking news, they all use it as not breaking news. But you can zip along through them all real quick and see who's actually carrying something.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's actually, if
Yeah.
everybody else is covering it, it's different.
Right. I'm going to admit my bias too. I don't watch cable news. It has not been part of my media diet for years, and I do not miss it. The only thing I miss is visualizations, which I can usually look for videos on a news organization's site, but I just can't with, especially primetime cable. It's just not part of my diet at all because it's just, I don't care who it is. I think they're all not good for us.
Stephen, did you have a question? Were you trying to? Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, our health decisions are really important too. And we haven't even talked about like the stuff that's coming at us. It's not in a digital way, but we have to use digital tools to verify those kind of things. And I understand it's scary because I worry the stuff that I get in, especially now that we're getting stuff about Medicaid and Medicare. There's a lot coming in. I'm like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that.
And to be so good is flood.
It's a flood.
Toll issue,
Yeah.
you're told to be.
Oh, the tolls, yeah. Mine was my last toll text. I'll wrap up with it. Yeah, I got a text the other day about toll, and it was due June 7 RD, 7 and I was like, ooh, that's not really, that's not a sign that this is garbage. So, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you so much for your time and your attention. I'll be available later. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Make sure you stick around and talk to me afterwards.
Oh, good.
We do that too. Coffee is okay. So our closing hymn, 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Now Mark picked both of these hymns today, so that's why we should have some good music. Yes. Stand if you're willing and able, please.
There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart, my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Okay, time to extinguish the chalice. It's in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth,
or the community, or the fire of commitment. These we
in our hearts until we are together again. Closing words today are from someone named Dave Rogers. The best society, the best human existence arrives when humans most closely determine the truth and act on the truth and separate it from superstition, falsity, or misinformation. And there's no better system for determining the truth than free speech, testing the validity of an idea in the waters of public discussion and debate. I'm supposed to do something else, and I don't remember what it is. Okay. Go in peace and light and harmony. Enjoy each other's company. See you again probably next week. Bye-bye.